It was an ordinary afternoon on patrol for Officers Jackson and Smith, cruising through the familiar streets of their small but bustling city. Everything seemed routine until they spotted a sleek black sedan ahead, driving slightly below the speed limit. "Looks like an out-of-towner," Jackson remarked, glancing at the car. Smith nodded. "Let's check it out. Never hurts to be thorough." Flipping on the lights, they signaled the car to pull over. The sedan eased onto the shoulder, and the officers approached cautiously, their boots crunching against the gravel. Inside sat a composed black woman, dressed sharply in a tailored navy blazer. Her presence was calm but commanding. "Good afternoon, officers," she said, her voice steady. "What seems to be the issue?" "Just a routine check," Smith replied, glancing at the woman's calm demeanor. "License and registration, please." "Of course," she said, reaching into her bag and handing over the requested documents. Jackson looked over the papers, then glanced back at her. "What brings you to this part of town?" She smiled faintly. "I'm headed to the station. I've got some important work to do." Smith raised an eyebrow. "Are you visiting someone there? A friend? Family?" There was a pause. The woman's lips curled into a knowing smile. "You could say that," she replied cryptically, before reaching back into her bag. This time she produced a badge. She held it out for them to see. "I'm your new chief of police." Silence. Both officers froze, their expressions shifting from curiosity to disbelief. They exchanged a glance, as if silently confirming what they'd just heard. "You're," Jackson began, but the words caught in his throat. "Yes," she interrupted gently, her tone firm but kind. "I am. And I'm glad we're meeting now because first impressions matter." The officers stammered apologies, their earlier confidence replaced with visible unease. "There's no need for apologies," she said, her calm demeanor unshaken. "You were doing your job, and I respect that. But this encounter is a reminder of something important." The officers looked at her, now more intrigued than embarrassed. She continued, "Respect isn't just about rank or authority. It's about treating everyone with fairness, no matter who they are or where they come from. That's a standard I'll be holding us all to, including myself." She handed back her license and gave them a polite nod. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a department to lead." As she drove off, the officers stood on the side of the road, processing what had just happened. Later that afternoon, at the police station, the woman walked into a packed room. Officers from every rank had gathered for her first official address as their new chief. Standing at the podium, she surveyed the room before speaking. "Today, I met two of you in an unexpected way." She began with a small smile. Laughter rippled through the crowd as word of the encounter had already spread. "Let me say this. I appreciated their professionalism. They didn't know who I was, but they treated me with dignity. That's exactly the kind of behavior I expect from this department, on and off duty." Her tone grew serious. "We have work to do. There are challenges ahead, and trust to rebuild. But if we treat everyone with the respect and fairness they deserve, we can set the standard for what policing should look like." The room erupted into applause, her words resonating deeply with the officers. That day, a new chapter began for the department. A chapter rooted in accountability, respect, and the power of leading by example. As the applause in the station died down, Chief Daniels, now fully introduced to her team, stood tall, her gaze sweeping over the room. She was no stranger to first impressions, and this one was already shaping up to be memorable. "Before I continue, let me share something personal," she began, her voice steady and engaging. "When I was younger, I had my fair share of interactions with police officers. Some of them were fair, but others not so much. Those experiences shaped how I see this job and the responsibility that comes with it." The room was silent, her words sinking in. Today's encounter on the road wasn't about embarrassment or authority. It was about a principle I live by. No one is above the law, not even me. But at the same time, no one is below dignity, regardless of their background, appearance, or title. Her words resonated deeply. Officers shifted in their seats, some nodding in agreement. "In this job, we meet people on their best days and their worst. How we treat them defines not just our character but the trust our community places in us. And make no mistake, trust is earned, not given. She paused, letting the weight of her statement settle. Let me tell you about my vision for this department, she continued. It's one where respect is non-negotiable, both within these walls and out on the streets. It's one where we lead by example, holding ourselves accountable before anyone else has to. And it's one where we don't just enforce the law, we embody justice. The officers exchanged glances. Some looked inspired, others thoughtful. Change isn't easy, Chief Daniels admitted. But it starts with moments like this. Moments where we challenge ourselves to do better, to be better. She stepped back from the podium, signaling the end of her speech. I'll be meeting each of you individually in the coming weeks. But for now, let's get to work. The community is counting on us. The room erupted into applause once more, louder this time. Officers stood, showing their support for their new leader. Epilogue. The story of Chief Daniels' unexpected traffic stop quickly spread through the department and the community. It became a symbol of her approach to leadership. Transparent, humble, and focused on accountability. Under her guidance, the department began initiatives to rebuild trust with the community, including regular town hall meetings, implicit bias training, and outreach programs in underserved neighborhoods. The two officers who stopped her that day became staunch supporters of her leadership, often recounting the story to new recruits as a lesson in humility and professionalism. Months later, during a community event, Chief Daniels stood on stage alongside those same officers. Together, they addressed the crowd, highlighting the progress made and the work still ahead. Her journey as the first Black woman to lead the department wasn't without challenges, but her ability to transform a simple traffic stop into a teachable moment was a testament to her strength as a leader and her vision for a brighter future.